like Wayne's World, where you're like 5, 4.
There we go. We are recording according to Teams.
Cool. So welcome everyone to what is December. What a year. But we did miss last month, but we're making up for it now. And we've got a guest speaker with us from different time zones. So just special thanks to Tiffany LaQuerre. We got that right?
Yeah. You went in confident and then you got to the end and gave up.
At the inflection. So we're doing how to stay up to date with Microsoft. So it's going to be an open mic conversation, open camera if people would like to unhide themselves, and we'll try and get through a bunch of content on, and especially our methods and how we keep on track of all the changes and all the updates and everything that happens almost every day. So
I thought this might be a good time to probably maybe all introduce ourselves a bit more formally than what we do on a lot of the other user groups. But I think, Tiff, if you want to start telling us about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Tiff, or Tiffany, and I live here in the United States in New Hampshire. If in the Northeast, it's actually just snowed for the first time pretty much all year, which is very rare. It's pretty cold out. Also, I'm in a sweater. I currently work at ButcherBox, which is a US-based company. We actually source all of our beef from Australia, which is ironic. Because I guess the US, we don't have good quality beef. I'll probably get in trouble someday for saying that, but it's fine. But I worked for PerkinElmer prior and also Southern New Hampshire University. So I went from big enterprise environments down to a smaller cloud only. So it's been definitely a whirlwind and a change for sure.
And in the US scale of big enterprise to small business, what sort of sizes are we talking?
So at Southern New Hampshire University, that was 400,000 user accounts. And that was, we had some global, but PerkinElmer was really more 9,000, and that was more so globally. So we're talking Singapore, China, Germany, UK. So it was a lot of Finland. So we had a lot more scale throughout the globe in that. And then this is US only. I mean, we source some of our meats from overseas, but all of our employees are US based, really like in the New England region. And a lot of our employees, so we only have internal employees, but we also contract a lot outward. So it's different. It's a different kind of business that I've worked in than I've worked in before. So it's a change.
No, and what do you look after there?
I am in charge of Office 365, and hopefully at some point we'll get my hands more into the Azure space, but I've been working in Office 365 for about 8 years now. So.
Cool.
Or Microsoft 365, whatever we want to call it these days.
Yep. And this is the chance to now plug your podcast.
Yes, I also co-host the Hope This Helps podcast. Steve, who is sleeping like a regular person, also does co-host it as well. And we talk about Microsoft and just about everything that kind of we can complain about in any sort of fashion.
And it does, this is what partly why I wanted to bring it up, is it does tie into what we're talking about today, because you do cover a lot of the things going on at the moment and things that have come out or changed that have affected how you admin. So yeah, definitely a good source of news and also pain points, as you say, things to complain about.
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, well, everyone else, we should probably jump in. Andrew, you've done a lot of talking, so you can keep going if you want.
Cool, on the spot.
Yep, go for it. Do you
Alrighty.
need to have a share pint first?
I've had a few sips, but anyhow. So I guess we'll go from my perspective on what I've been doing in the past few years, just to try to keep up with everything and try to learn all the things that happen. So one of the cooler things is what Microsoft have is the tech community. So they've gone and kind of evolved the original forums and whatnot, Q&A pages into this one giant, I guess, mixture of every product or service that Microsoft has, and each one has its own set of blogs, and all the writers are mostly MVPs or veterans out in the space. So let's kind of open that up and share my screen quickly.
Before you jump in too far, because I think it's good contextually for people watching why we care about this stuff. Why do you care about what's going on in Microsoft land, and how does it tie into your job?
Right. So I am pretty much well embedded into just touching everything 365 related. So going from email and Exchange Online to things in SharePoint Online that tie into Teams, and just pretty much every day my job is to administer or customize the functions within these services. So being on top of everything is kind of important, because it's each day, like, something could go down, something could change drastically. It may take down someone's line of business, or it just stuff isn't workable anymore. There could be an outage. There could be all sorts of crazy things going on in the background that we don't hear about, and sometimes because it's a time difference, something in the States could be happening. Tiffany might be already aware of it or not aware of it, depending on what time it is for us. And having a source of news or like a feed just to tell you what's changing or what's actually happening is pretty critical in most people's roles, and particularly if you're in a managed service provider role or consultant or freelancers, like you want to be on top of these things when they happen.
Cool. So same question for you, Brett. What do you do day to day, and why do you care about what's going on in the Microsoft world?
Don't care at all. No.
Okay, next.
Yeah. So it's actually one of those things that's changed throughout my career. So when I first started out in sort of desktop, service desk, that sort of side of things, supporting customers, we had to be ahead of what our customers were actually wanting to work with and get their day-to-day work done with. Then I moved on to a solutions architect sort of role with System Center and trying to deploy and maintain all of that on the bleeding edge. Like, how do we make sure that we're ahead of the curve for all of our customers, and that we can get them all the latest and greatest tech right from the word go. Now that I've moved over to Cyrison, we focus primarily on System Center Service Manager and IT service management tools and the integration of that and how that works with business. But what we've got, the power of System Center and why I've always been so passionate about System Center is the fact so interconnected with everything that Microsoft does. So knowing what else is coming out from Microsoft, knowing what else is happening, is how do we then leverage those tools to be able to take advantage of those new tools that are coming out? Where does Config Manager stop and Intune start, and how do we leverage both of those? And then how can we leverage Azure to be able to do some of that processing to keep us safe and secure? And then how we licensing that out and how we're keeping track of that and so forth. So it's more of from me at the moment, it's not specifically about the specific technical pieces, but more around the business side of things, what can be provided and what can't be. So yeah, it's been certainly for me over the years, my focus has changed, but the same tools in the same way I've been able to get that information and also communicate that information through this community and things that we've been doing over the years hasn't really changed. It's just what I focus on is different. So, and I think that'll be the same for everybody here in this. You'll all have different focuses on different things. It might be end user computing type stuff. It might be infrastructure type stuff, networking, user accounts, or just an overarching sort of look at everything. But I think, yeah, what we'll talk about here today sort of covers that for everybody.
Very good. It's funny because we've got, Tiff, who's internal IT, Andrew, who's CSP space, and then Brett, who's the vendor space. So we're covering they're the three, right? But we all care about it for pretty much the same reasons. You want to know what's going on. You want to be the person that everyone comes to first and have the answers, or at least be across what's going on, and not look like the person that's like, did Microsoft do that? And you want to be in that position of control. And just quickly cover myself. I'm the IT operations manager at a law firm, so I'm also internal, and look after pretty much all operational aspects, including a bit of a focus on the Microsoft 365 suite. And yeah, you have already all answered the reasons why I care. It's it's gone from a nice to know to a need to know. Everything is so much more complex, and it is forever getting more complex. Sure, you don't have to worry about much tin these days, but yeah, with that comes things that you can actually add more value on. And just for everyone listening in, if you've got any questions or comments, either put up your hand or put something in the chat, and you're welcome to either text a question or jump in and ask something if you like. Okay, well, sorry, I cut you off before, Andrew. Do you want to jump back to
hitting on myself there?
No, that's all good. Sorry, I was trying to throw to you smoothly for an introduction, but you jumped all over the first
I totally missed that cue.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll edit it out in post. Can you bring up tech community? Sorry,
trying to find it.
Bring up tech community and show us what you're talking about there, because there is a lot of cool things you can do in tech community.
I think that has not worked. Can you see anything?
Just an AO, so this must be adults only.
Try again. I'll get a more rated version.
More family friendly.
Yep, definitely.
I'll just share my screen. That'll work, right?
Cool. This makes me really happy because I also struggle with the sharing functionality every day.
I think it's because I've got too much stuff open. Okay, so too many tabs, too many browsers.
I feel that this is my struggle.
All right, so this is just the landing page to the tech community. So if you sign in, use a Microsoft account, or you can use your work account, so any 365 account if you like, and then you can then kind of drill into each of the communities. So from 365 to SharePoint, Windows, Azure, all of that, each one kind of expands and goes down its own path. So forums, blogs, and then it even has a little segue off to the Microsoft Learn site. So you can go off and say you want to look into taking an exam, for example. You can come here, you can go to the Microsoft Learn page. But as soon as you look up that exam page itself, there'll be links to take you back here. If you're actually looking up, I guess, questions or answers to something that you've encountered, most of the time you'll get directed to come to this tech community site, or there might be one of those other Q&A pages that still exist. I don't know whether they will roll them up into the one place or not, but bring more pieces together. So, for example, the Microsoft Learning blog itself has been migrated across to the tech community site. Just bring that up. So even when you hit the blogs page, there is topics on pretty much everything within each stack. So
now, if you're signed in, I believe you can pick the categories that you actually are interested in to have a sort of your own personal feed on what's going on about those particular areas.
Yeah, so you can join the communities themselves and have feeds and the messages that come, and you get emailed when someone posts something or replies to one of your questions.
Yep. And there is a mix of, I guess, both technical questions or how do I do this type things, as well as blog posts from Microsoft employees themselves talking about a new feature, like the Microsoft Bookings blog might have an actual post from it. So it's a good way of finding out A, what's going on, and B, maybe some posts around common problems, which can be useful to find out about.
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff is at the time kind of thing. So I tend to want to keep on top of this by, I guess, checking Twitter. So Twitter is probably the most used, I guess, social media platform from people that are actually working at Microsoft, or they consume the services or the MVPs. But a lot of people are active on Twitter, just resharing this stuff out, tweeting it, commenting on people. So a lot of the blog posts that get published, I tend to see the tweets for the actual blog itself. And it's usually shared out by one of the product managers or one of the MVPs, or even Adam or Brett. They'll share something out if I haven't seen it yet, and I'll click through and I'll be on this site.
So on that as well, I've just put a link in the chat if you want to click on that one, Andrew. This is a Twitter feed I created that pulls the RSS feed from everything in tech community as it happens and just posts a tweet about it. So this can be, I created it for myself, but it's quite a good way of just seeing what's being posted without having to go anywhere and do anything really. It's, sort of an RSS feed tied to Twitter, which is pretty simple, but yeah, you can keep quite across the bits and pieces being posted just by looking at something like this. I'm sure there's other sources for it as well, but if you scroll down a bit, you'll see beyond the adverts. It just links through everything that gets posted.
There you go. Tech community posts.
That's awesome.
Yep. So it's a cool way of just keeping across what's going on.
I find that the blogs are very, very helpful, especially for Exchange stuff, or anything that has to do with like domain controller upgrades and things like that, because those are the conversations that are usually the most complicated or have the most complex parts to them. And I've seen really good discussions, or been a part of really good discussions from those blog posts. And sometimes they'll post blog posts within blog posts, so like blog post inception.
Yes, there's often this is a blog post update to this previous blog post, and you click on that previous blog post from 2 years ago and start reading that to get the context of where this new blog post comes to. But it sounds funny, but then it's quite good. It does give you the context of the story of where it's come from, and that can be often important for you understanding and troubleshooting of something, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different to the old Microsoft. It's very much more open now, and a lot more sharing going on of just what's going on and why.
Yeah.
And they're much more open about saying what things are coming and when they're coming, as opposed to this is just how it is now and live with it. So cool. All right.
Yeah.
What was the next one you got, Andrew? You got a few cool sources of
continuing on from Twitter, I guess you can do a search on each service or product as well, and then follow them, and then you'll get all the updates on those specific products. One in particular, hang on, I'll have to go here. So the Msft 365 status page, a lot of the outages and stuff will get posted here. How up to date or useful they are, it depends, because if you can't get into your admin center for the most part to sign in and see the actual reports, you have to come here. So they're pretty good with the updates. I think
it is nice that that is an official one as well.
Yeah, so rather than having to hunt someone down. So usually we will get a tweet at like 7 a.m. or our login servers are down, and then you rock up to work and everyone's panicking.
Yeah. No, that was me this morning. So what's funny is that the one from this morning was, so as we're talking about all of this, so there was only a service incident in Brazil. And so my team started panicking. So I went on Twitter and I posted about it. And then I got connected to someone in Microsoft. And then sure enough, like moments later, this got posted. And I was like, look at that, the magic of using social media. You would never have thought. And it was actually someone else who was in the Northeast who was having the issue, who linked me with someone at Microsoft. And that person replied, and they were just like, hey, check the status page now. And I was like, yay. Not that it really helped, because the call quality of Teams is not great for the day. But it was like my moment of glory of like, look, guys, I did Twitter during work today.
Exactly. And it was worthwhile. I spent 8 hours on there, but I found an answer.
Right. Don't worry about it. So,
But yeah, it's a very valid point. It's funny that Microsoft have no commitment to Twitter in any way that I'm aware of, but there's so many staff that are engaged on there and care. And I'm not selling this to oversell Microsoft anyway, but you're right, you can post, and someone that either is involved or knows someone that does, they do care, they connect the dots for you, and you actually get a real answer.
It's pretty cool, I will say. It makes you feel like you're valued in a way. Because if you can't get into the portal to create a ticket, you're just like, help.
Yeah, and I think most of the people at Microsoft are very passionate about what it is that they do around their technology, so they want to talk about it. It's not a case of you're bugging them. They're like, oh, I can't be bothered dealing with you. They want to engage. They want to hear what's going on, and they want to talk about their specific product. So, you know, they will use whatever tools they can to be able to get out there. And Twitter seems to be the one that they're most engaged with across the board, for sure.
Definitely. Well, on the outages then, there's two other areas I can think of that you would find out about, at least Microsoft 365 related ones, which is the admin center itself, the Microsoft 365 admin center, which does list all your outages pretty much as one of the main bits as soon as you log on. Doesn't help when there is something like an Azure AD outage that you can't sign in. And there is one other side that does have a sort of a green light system. I don't know if you had that one handy, Andrew. If not, I'll be able to find it. Oh, look, we're all in a seat.
This is where, indeed.
Yeah.
I know, it is.
Oh. They haven't given us the scenes yet, although I haven't checked the updates. So they are adding extra scenes, so we're not all just in the same auditorium every time. And they're going to fix up the automatic sizing, so we're not all going to be. Oh, hello.
Oh, look at that!
Ooh.
This is fancy.
Mike's updated his teams.
Oh.
You're welcome. No, I've got preview enabled, so I get a bit of extra stuff. Sorry for interrupting. Didn't realise it changed it for everyone.
That was a worthwhile interruption.
Right. No, it's fun.
It is a bit weird that we're hidden behind steps. As far as
There's a few others. You guys want to see them?
Yeah, let's do it.
Whoa.
I feel like I'm at a big table.
What I found really interesting was the fact that there you go. The NBA this year was actually on massive boards, and they had this, so you could buy a seat at one of the games, be on the teams, and so you would actually be in the stadium.
Yeah.
So when the TV sort of moves around, you could actually be seen on the big boards behind it. So the players could actually see people interacting with the game as well, which interesting way of doing it for sure. But I think it's a lot more interactive like this as well, because everyone's seeing the same position on the screen. So when I reach over like this and point in the right direction, everyone's seeing the same effect as well.
Very cool.
Gives you like an album cover almost.
I have put another page, at least for Office, it's still called Office 365, and this status.office365.com. And that will, as you will see, everything's all good. So in case you can't get to the admin center for some reason, that should show major outages at least. But I have a feeling that one, I'm guessing, is probably a more manually updated one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it probably does move us on to another interesting topic, is how do you know what's happening in things like Teams, and that you can get new backgrounds or when they're coming. There are a few different sources of information. Does someone want to jump in first, how they would find out about this feature?
I feel like this is a trick
I can take over.
question.
It's not a trick question though. I just thought there was at least 3 or 4 answers I could think of.
There are so many ways.
Exactly. Well, go on in. Give us one. Okay,
I'll start. So one of the ways that I keep up with I was going to say Microsoft Teams. Wow, I feel like an ad. I have a flow that takes all of the changes and puts them into a planner.
Yes, so, I was going to demo this one, so go for it.
Oh, if you know, if you have it demoed.
Oh, I was just going to click a few buttons, but yeah, I can still do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can do that. I also pulled it up, so
No, you
We
should
can
share.
rock, paper, scissors. You want me to share?
No,
I'll
all
share.
yours. You're the guest.
All right. Hold on. Oh,
Because this is quite cool,
you
and
get
this is
you
only
get to
something you would know if you'd either
struggle.
stumbled across it or someone else told you about it, I think. So
We won't tell anyone that I'm using a Mac. So give me a second.
I thought that was part of the conditions of you joining this round table.
Was that I had to use a Mac?
Oh, yeah, you had to not use it. Jeez.
I know.
You're gonna tell me next got like the new CPU that doesn't support
Right.
x86 stuff.
Oh, let's not talk about that. No, hold on. I can't help it. This is what they gave me. I'm not going to complain about it. I did a little bit. But, okay. As I struggle here with sharing my favorite thing in the whole world. Okay, cool. No, what do you want from me now?
Yeah, this is cool.
So this is the stuff you get to hear me talk to myself, because this is what I do during the day too. So, all right. So you can see my screen now, maybe,
Yep.
Hopefully. Okay, cool. So it's just a Microsoft flow that actually feeds right into Planner. And I have a bit of OCD and have broken it down to the various product categories. So I do a little bit more of a manual labor of love here, and I will move the items so then I'm sort of forced to read them into their proper bucket. But then at the same time, what's pretty cool as well is that you can see when they're rolling out in this calendar. And
it's too many to fit in a month.
Yeah, there's too many. There's usually too many, so it's not worthwhile.
Well, if you narrow down to like the week for your debut, though.
Yes. So let's see if I know how to use a calendar.
There we go.
So there we go. And what is pretty awesome too is that I also have them connected to my phone. So if I turn them off on the day-to-day, but if I'm ever like, hey, what's going on in the Office 365 world, or what's going on, as my late night reading, I will just click open the calendar and then it will show up here. So you can't really see that, but I have all of they're all there. So then I can just click on them, and then when you open them, you get the full description.
Now we've got the chat going, very excited for this, which I hope so.
This is so exciting.
And the good news is you don't even have to do anything for this apart from click a button. Well, click 3 or 4 buttons. Are you able to show the message center in the admin center for you?
If you don't mind, just my orgs, and I don't want to
Not a problem.
Awesome. So I have.
Which window am I sharing? The wrong one, I bet.
Isn't it? Yeah. No. So this is the.
Stop.
It's sharing roulette.
There we go. Screen 2. That's the one I wanted. Just in case anyone sees this bit, it's actually the thing that Edge nags you about a lot. Collections. Oh, yes. So I was creating a collection of sites for this. Anyway, so all the feed from Microsoft on anything happening in the Microsoft 365 world. You've got this cool little button here, Planner Syncing. You click it. I've already set that up. If you haven't set it up before, it will say, what planner do you want to send this to? And what bucket do you want to put it in? And what different subjects do you want synced through? For me, I'm syncing everything. And I'm putting it in a bucket called Message Center. And the end result, if this was signed in again, I'm sure everyone loves watching people sign into portals.
I haven't seen this new planner login screen before.
It just feeds them in here. So from that, I'm guessing if you've created your buckets on the things and you read it and then file it to the one it is. So to get from that to this is honestly following the bouncing ball on that planner syncing option. If you don't have a bucket already, you might need to go to planner, create your plan that you want to tie it to. It will create the bucket or have an existing bucket you can pick. So yes, if you want to be like Tiff, then get into Messenger and click the planner syncing button. It's pretty cool, and yeah, I don't think that many people know about it yet. And I have seen improvements from Microsoft on categorizing these. I remember it used to be pretty much every single one just had the general logo, but they seem to be doing a better job now of making sure it's sort of tied into the actual product it cares about. So maybe you only care about Exchange, for example. You can set up a sync to only take those Exchange ones in. Or maybe Exchange in general, because general might impact something to do with Exchange. So yeah, that was cool. I'll stop sharing now. But yes, I hope a few people jump on that one. How do you actually manage the huge flow of items that come in, Tiff?
Because I also have them on my phone, I check them fairly frequently. So I will often just file them away as they really come in, or once a week or so forth. Or a lot of times if I'm on Twitter or something, it'll trigger my memory of, oh, hey, I have to go look at this. And then I'll and then I usually end up back to the planner. So it's a nice way of keeping track of if they actually come out or if they've been backlogged or where they are on the roadmap. So
awesome. Okay, I had some other ideas on where you could find out this sort of information. So let's see if anyone else can guess what I'm thinking. Where else might you find out? Say there's a feature coming in Teams. Where would you try and find out where it was on the roadmap and when it would be released?
I think someone answered earlier in the chat.
Oh, I have to look at the chat again.
Maybe 365 roadmap.
That sounds right from Andrew. Anyone want to bring that one up? I never used to go there, but I've found as more people ask, oh, where's the feature in Teams where I can export the list of participants in my meeting? I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember hearing about that. Okay, I'll share.
I was going to give Brett a chance there.
Brett, you want to share?
Yeah.
Okay, Brett's next for whatever we talk about. So this is the Microsoft 365 roadmap page. There is no login required, so you won't see me going through anything else. I just found it by doing a Google for 365 roadmap website, which is what Andrew said in the chat. And as you can see, there's a lot of things in development rolling out and launched. Now, if I was looking for Teams attendee, it'll then show me everything that matches that search very quickly, and I can go, oh, okay, no, I was looking for the when the attendee limit increased to 300 participants, and that actually came out in June. So it will show you, you can have a look at what's launched, if you just want to narrow it down to things that are already out or things that are coming, and hide the things that are launched. And go, oh yeah, large meeting support, not till January 2021. And you can click on it to get a bit more detail. So if you get in the habit of, or if all the people ask you, where's this thing? Get used to going to this portal and just having a look, because it is actually quite detailed, kept up to date fairly frequently. They'll tell you when the thing was last modified as well. So yeah, there's quite a good way of keeping if you know what you're looking for. I mean, there's a lot to read through if you just want to have a browse as to what's in development, or you can look at an RSS feed of it. Maybe that's another Twitter bot I'll create for that one. So yeah, another cool one. So what are you going to share now, Brett?
I mean, to be honest, the main way I keep in touch with what's going on with System Center and so forth is just through Twitter, and exactly what we've been talking about there before. So don't really have anything else to share, man.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's not really purely, our topic wasn't purely about, I guess, the news. It was also how you keep everything up to date. How do you keep clients up to date? Is there any other, it was a very nondescript, how do you keep things up to date question.
In another really good way, and I think this sort of links back to Tiffany, is of course podcasts. So when I'm in the car and I'm driving between clients and customers and so forth, it's a great time to be able to just fill in what's going on in general tech news across the board. So there's quite a few good podcasts that I listen to on different sorts of topics. And I try to listen to things outside of my sphere of influence as well, so into the security types of things as well. Security Now is one of my favourite podcasts to listen to. I'm not into the day-to-day sort of fighting fires when it comes to viruses and keeping places safe and so forth. But when you are architecting out different solutions for customers, to be able to think of those sort of security implications before they become a problem and build them into the design as they actually come along. So podcasts are actually a really good way to keep across things that you may not normally keep across. So, you're a Microsoft 365 admin, you've got access to that admin site and everything like that. But, what's going on with the security world or what's going on in the networking world, I don't want deep dive specifics on it, but I want someone to sort of talk me through what's going on in that environment. And that's where podcasts can come in really, really handy.
Completely agree. Just remind me, there's a few podcasts I was going to link in the chat.
I've got a couple. While you're looking for them,
yeah, go for it.
The Intrazone. So that's based on SharePoint. So that's got Mark Cashman and Chris Minolti in it.
Mm-hmm.
And a spin-off of that is Sync Up, which is a podcast on OneDrive. I'll grab those two links. But yeah, they'll do their podcasts and they'll do their tech community posts as well at the same time. Just so that if you got it all in writing at the same time. Ben's beating me to one of them. But yes, there you go.
I know. What is it? There's a few M365 Message Center podcasts, so you can get some podcasts that will just pretty much read out what's in the Message Center, which sounds silly, but if you don't have time to do it during work and you've got a car ride or something, it can be a way to keep up to date with what's going on if you do it once a week or something.
Yeah, and that's certainly what I find is just to be able to, not have to set aside time to stop and actually, okay, cool, I'm going to catch up on what's going on, and reading through things. But just having that conversation sort of going on in the background while you're driving, while you're commuting, while you're mowing the lawn, whatever, can be really useful. And especially if it's a topic that you're not 100% up to date with, because you usually find people talk through it in a way for their audience, rather than it just being a technical blog about assuming that you haven't assumed knowledge. Like you talk through that sort of idea as well. I do like that podcast. Thanks, Mike. I think that's a really good suggestion there in the chat.
Yep, drop the
podcast. I've listened to it, so I'm certainly going to be having a listen to it very soon here as well. Another one here from Australia is CIA Ops, the Need to Know podcast, and that covers a nice wide range of sort of topics in there as well. I guess I suggest that one because it's the only podcast I've ever been on. Adam, probably you too.
We were on that together, I believe, back in the day.
We were on that podcast together. So, Australian one as well. So it's more relevant to what's going on here in Australia, and of course they can talk around certain. We'll see stuff come out from Microsoft, and it's slowly getting rolled out, and it seems to be the US, EMEA, and then Asia Pacific gets it last. So we're always sort of that last in that cycle. So a podcast like that is local and understands those sorts of things that we get last. It's a really good podcaster as well.
One that I really like lately is Kevin Scherbert on YouTube. He's a former Microsoft employee, but he recently just left Microsoft and has gone full-time YouTubing. And some of the recent Teams videos that he's posted they're very quick, but they're also very well done. and I found a lot of value from his videos.
Cool. And yeah, there's also Microsoft Mechanics videos on YouTube. They're really good. You've probably seen one before if you've almost looked for anything on a recent Microsoft topic. They're usually between 6 and 10 minutes. They're not really much marketing fluff. They get right to it, show you how something works or what's new or something. So you subscribe to that one for sure, because yeah, the content's always just spot on and you get what you want out of it fairly quickly. Cool. What other update questions do we have? We've got, we could talk about how to keep actual computers up to date. I can see everyone's so excited at that topic.
Yeah.
Everyone just points their computers, I assume, to Windows updates online, and that's it. So you don't have to worry about it.
It is.
No, okay. So we're still. So I wrote something recently around if you stick with WSUS or look at Windows updates for business. What do you all see out there still? Or of course, tying config manager or endpoint manager into WSUS.
Well, certainly from my perspective, tying in, a lot of my customers, again, around the System Center staff, endpoint manager is still the way to go as far as their rollout of patches is concerned across an enterprise, especially when you get up to, like Tiffany said, 400,000 endpoints. Is a huge number of endpoints that if a small percentage has a problem, that's a lot of computers and a lot of phone calls for the service desk. So making sure that all the key components are compatible is a full-time job that an organization of that size would have a dedicated team just testing patches and new updates that are coming out. So to be able to test those and schedule those and roll them out and get compliance as rapidly as possible, then using either config manager, endpoint manager or WSUS is a great way of being able to do that and then control that rollout as well. And especially when you get a large organization like that, or and I find it more here in Australia as well, these satellite type offices that a mining exploration or a state government department that's got an office of 20 people and it's in the middle of nowhere, and the wonderful NBN infrastructure on the background, so they've all got really good internet connection, being able to share, being able to peer cache those updates between those machines, and one person get it and then share it for the rest of the office without anybody having to think about it or configure anything crazy in the background or have link optimizers or expensive pieces of kit in between to be able to push out that kind of content. So yeah, definitely patch management, depending on the size. The bigger the organization, the more effort you're going to have to put into it. But at the lower end, certainly here at Cyrusson, we've only got an employee size. I think we're at 56 employees. Well, you know what? If 10% of the entire organization goes down, it's only 5 people. If 10% of an organization goes down, they're 400,000 people. You know what? The business starts to get really affected really quickly. So, it's all about that risk reward when it comes to patch management for sure.
Cool. So what are you doing where you are, Tiff?
So again, I went from larger organizations down to a smaller Mac organization, and it's definitely a challenge for me because both prior orgs were all Microsoft moving into System Center. So all of our server patching was WSUS and really new to the System Center world, because prior to that, we were doing everything manually. Oh boy, this is I feel like this was so long ago, but it wasn't, where we didn't have laps or anything.
You're having flashbacks.
Yeah, no, and it was only it was barely even a year and a half ago, at this point, and I was but even the fact that System Center is still a very new concept, I feel like for a lot of organizations out, like at least that I've worked at, or even friends that I have in other organizations where they're starting to roll it out and really start to get their organizations up to speed. So it's an area that still feels a lot of room for opportunity. I'll go buzzword on us for this evening. A lot of area of opportunity.
Very tactful.
Yeah. Even where I'm at, we talk about it, but like our focus mostly is on the mobile device management side and how do we manage mobile devices. So I'm starting to get my hands on Intune.
Yeah.
More so.
You don't make money from doing patching right, but you do lose money from doing patching really wrong sometimes.
Yes. A lot of it.
Yeah.
What do you see out there, Andrew? You have a bit more of a different user base?
A lot of WSUS. So for what I've touched, it's mostly small to medium-sized businesses. Nothing huge. So only like maybe a handful of SCCM deployments, but a lot of time it is just tweaking products and classifications in WSUS or moving them up to trying out Intune or Endpoint Manager. And then for the most part, we just kind of let Windows updates do its thing. If it's a really small, like 5-user business or something, there's no real need to go too ham on the updates.
Yeah. So have any of you at all seen Windows updates for business?
Seen.
Well, it's not a trick question. I mean, I only learned about this in the last 3 or 4 months, and I've gone from zero knowledge, barely knowing it exists, to I think understanding it.
Because I thought that it was brought out just for Windows 10 at that point.
Yeah,
so they kind of extended the support in WSUS for Windows 10, so people were like,
yes. So this is my understanding of it. You're right. It's like a Windows 10 solution only. So if you've got older clients, then you're going to need WSUS anyway. So why bother? But Windows updates for business is just pointing at Microsoft updates online. So there's no, you haven't got a cache server or any other infrastructure whatsoever. You're just pointing at the same way all consumers get their updates, but you do get a few controls that you can do through group policy or registry or whatever, which is how Intune does it. So Intune will just set those values. You can set your computers into different rings by defining at what time they get the updates, like in what phase of the updates they come out, and also if there's a delay. So you can say, I want my computers to only get the sort of the enterprise ready updates, but I want them to wait 7 days after they're released before they start getting them. So you can automate it with a bit of a catch going, well, I would hope in 7 days that Microsoft will work out a problem and stop those updates before I get them. I mean, they've got the telemetry of the entire world, so I would expect they usually know when there's a problem going on. And you can set different registry settings of different clients. So maybe IT get the updates 0 day or 1 day, your pilot users a few days later, the rest of the company a few days later again. And then you can put pauses in. So you can say, well, something's going wrong. I'm just going to pause all my updates through this registry setting from this day, and then it will be paused for 35 days unless you update that setting. If 35 days pass, then it will just start getting updates again. The other setting you can do is around feature updates, and you can say what the build of Windows 10 you want to go to. So you could put 2004 in there, which means all computers will go to 2004 as a feature update when it's available, but they won't go beyond that. And then if you change the setting to, I think you put 2009 in, even though it's called 20H2. If you put the latest one in, and then computers will start doing that. So it gives you a bit of control with a bit of a catch that you can put delays in without having to manage it. So completely agree with your point at the start, Brett. Not something you would do for 400,000 endpoints, but for a small business that you just want to say, oh, I just want to let updates go out, but let's just delay them a little bit so they don't get bugs that come out straight away. It can be quite a good way of automating it, taking away your burden of having to even worry about it. So it's interesting. Definitely not a fit for everyone. yeah.
Cool. Certainly worth having a look at. That's for sure. For people that are making the transition to a more mobile workforce, especially this year. More people working from home and so forth, and you're really getting down to that ones and twos of machines in a particular location. So having it come down inside your organisation and then pushed back out of your organisation is actually not the most efficient way of being able to get those patches out there, for sure.
Very true. And just on the Windows 10 story side of it, they've got delivery optimization. I've just brought it up on my other screen, which is why I'm looking over here. You can tell your Windows 10 computer to also get updates from PCs on your local network or PCs on the internet as well. That one I probably wouldn't bother with. But PCs on my local network, you can get updates, peer-to-peer that way. And the activity monitor on that page will then show you where you're getting your updates from. So it might be, I'm getting 40% of the last data in the last 30 days from Microsoft, and then 60% from computers on my network. So that can help reduce your site problems. But if you have a site that has very precious bandwidth, again, probably something you wouldn't potentially trust, because the link getting flooded for an hour might completely bring down the site. So again, if you've got the right use case, it can make sense, because it is low effort, low touch, with a few extra safety catches in there.
Yep. It's also good for, so we set it up, the peer-to-peer type options have been available inside Config Manager for a while now, and sort of we've always, we've set it up for temporary events as well. So the V8 supercars here in Adelaide would be a big thing that would get set up, and a sub-site of government departments will actually set up there on track during the build phase and running of that. Perfect opportunity there that you don't want to put in expensive infrastructure for throttling bandwidth and managing that bandwidth, but you want people to maintain security and patches and so forth. So that peer-to-peer setup there, they've got a small ATCO hut with 10 people in it. It's a perfect opportunity for that, to have those policies set up that when they're in that particular area or that particular subnet, those are the group policies that are being applied there, and they're actually getting peer-to-peer. So yeah, their connection's not terrible because it's there in the CBD, but it's not also not unlimited. So yeah, good opportunities for different variations as needed.
Cool. We've probably only got a few minutes left. We're at 4:59 now. I've got one or two other things I can bring up. Is there any other points anyone wants to raise? Comments, questions to the group? Pain points, maybe? Things that you go, I wish this was actually better?
Well, another really good way of keeping up to date with what's going on is via Meetup Communities, such as this one. So we're not the only one in Adelaide. We're the ones specifically focusing around the Microsoft IT Pro side of things. But, we've got one for Azure. We've got one for, I think there's an Office 365 one.
I've got a long list I can share.
Yeah, exactly. So
yes, Andrew likes it. Almost the last 5 or 6 meetings has been bringing up the list of user groups. It's been good.
Yeah, and we do, and it's I find that these are a really good way of doing it because they're an interactive podcast. They're in your local neck of the woods. It's the common sort of problems that everyone here is seeing. So there's a great list there in the chat window there. Thanks, Andrew. It's almost like you had that one lined up, man. That's great.
Yeah.
It is really good because you do get to ask specific questions, and when we do get experts in from not just South Australia, not just Australia, but from everywhere in the world, so you get to ask those sorts of questions that you probably wouldn't otherwise get to ask, and get live feedback on that as well. So
very cool.
So we had Ben Fletcher in the chat, in the list before, but he's left, I believe. So, but he's from Queensland, so he usually jumps in on the Brisbane user group.
And that's one of the silver linings of our current situation. All the user groups have gone online, so you can sort of tour Australia and the world to see what people are locally talking about. Maybe there's a speaker you're interested in hearing, or just getting a different view on things. So yeah, it's a benefit. I find for our user group, it definitely makes it a bit more accessible to people anywhere.
Yep.
And the last few user groups before this all happened, we were bringing in people remotely anyway. So yeah, it's all worked quite well.
That's good. Thank you, Jamie. There's another good podcast there, Microsoft Cloud Show.
Yes.
That is a good one. I have listened to that one.
Okay, I might have to give that one a listen. Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few Microsoft employee-produced ones now, which is quite good to see.
Well, it's 2020. Everyone's got a podcast now, don't they?
Right, everyone.
Yeah. How long's yours been running for, Tiff, now?
So ironically, it started right before the pandemic, and then
yeah, sure. Before it was.
I know now I say that, and everyone's like, "Sure, yeah, okay." No.
No, as I said,
I predicted it.
A good way of being information out there and to have that conversation.
No, it really is. It's a good way to keep up too. There's so much information all the time, and I probably would not be able to do my job, I think, because there's just not enough time in the day to keep up with everything. So you really have to make it a part of your life, which is funny because everyone's like, "Wait, you're doing a talk at 1 o'clock in the morning," and I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, you really love your job. And I was like, something like that. I wouldn't use the word love, but
yeah,
that's excessive.
It is a valid point, and you can argue, is it right or not that we have to do these extra hours for what we do, but it makes your day less stressful. Being ahead of the game, knowing what's going on, even if it's just those high level, you read the message center and you saw a bunch of titles, or you got an email saying there was an outage, just being across the fact that something's going on just puts you ahead of it, and you just find things are less stressful because you did put yourself there. Otherwise, you're just forever chasing, and no one wants to be in a job where they're just chasing problems, finding out after the fact. That's not enjoyable for anyone.
No.
On that as well, one other area I didn't mention before, if someone asks me about a feature for something and they go, "Oh, why can't you do this in Planner?" First thing I'll do is go to Use Voice and search for it. And usually you'll find something that is exactly what you're asking for with a bunch of upvotes, which A means it's not there yet, and B, hopefully Microsoft have already responded with some sort of guidance saying, "Oh, we're working on this. It'll be in the near future," or "We're considering it," or "We're not doing it." So user voice for the product you're looking at. Yeah, always check there if you want to know something exists on it and you can't find the information. That's a good spot to go to.
Yeah, you'll find they've reallocated all their resources to Teams and all the online productivity this year. So
Teams is exploded just a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, what a time to get into Teams for sure.
Yes, I imagine we all did a lot of changes this year. That's probably more than the other year, just to keep things ticking along.
Oh yeah.
Tiff, was there anything else you wanted to add as well? Sorry, yeah, keep going. Go
yeah, sure. No, what's funny is that during April, I did a migration, like a rush migration from Skype for Business to Teams, like of 9,000 users in a couple of days. And that was just a total, at that point, it was like, you have to do it. You have to do it. There's no other way.
We're not holding your hand. There's no major user training. Here's the Microsoft documentation, and the new program's going to launch. Good luck.
Hey, have a good day. I think one of the biggest pain points that I do find in general with Microsoft, specifically around Teams, is that when a new feature is announced and maybe delayed, I notice it kind of gets swept under the carpet. They don't necessarily communicate that it's been delayed. So breakout rooms is the latest new example, where everyone is super excited about it, and then all of a sudden it was supposed to come out, and then it kind of went silent.
Yeah. And you can probably understand why it happens. Like there's obviously a rush, they're trying to meet a deadline, something goes wrong, there's chaos, probably trying to get it organized. The last thing to think of at that time is, we should tell everyone it's going to be another, we don't actually know yet because we're still trying to work out the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So as an admin, I have to keep up with those things as well to communicate, because people are they're excited about those little features that probably the rest of us will never use. I mean, I'm never probably going to use that, but like people in my organization, they're super pumped about it. And it's always a small ones. And then you're like, oh, sorry to ruin your day, but it's not coming for another 2 months.
Well, it was only back in May or so. We only had 2x2 video chat in Teams, right? That seems like a distant past. I remember every day someone was asking, when do we get 3x3? And then I heard 7x7 is coming. Where is it? We need it now. Zoom's got it. You're like, okay, well, yeah, they're rolling it out now. Except when they say rolling out now, that could be over a 3-month period. So the only way to do it is just to open Teams, get 10 people in a video call, and see if it flicks over or not. Sorry.
So true. So true.
Yeah. And how about you, Andrew? Any wrap-up statements or points you'd like to make?
The only thing left in my list of things was just the training side of things. So if you are deep in a certain product or products, get certified. Even like Microsoft is now posting saying, hey, you want to be across the product, and you want to be, give yourself that peace of mind that you know what you're playing with at the moment. Do the certification. You can start with fundamentals. You can go climb your way up from administrator to expert, that kind of thing. And there's plenty of online resources, people doing training here and there, and even Microsoft themselves are offering the free training days, and it'll give you a free exam to take at the end of it, that kind of thing. So get onto it, I guess.
Yeah, I think training resources, Microsoft themselves have a lot. They're in LinkedIn, and as Brett, you mentioned, you're making content for LinkedIn Premium or LinkedIn Learning, whatever they're calling it.
LinkedIn Learning, yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So there's a bunch of extra content there, and then you've got other third-party things like Pluralsight that's quite well regarded. A lot of experts go on there to present. So yeah, lots of different ways to train up. Yeah,
IT Pro TV is another one that I've used in the past. So they're Microsoft certified trainers, and they actually do, it's the Netflix of courseware, and you just call it up, and they'll walk through every single chapter of an exam, and deep dive on every single topic that's within it, and get into it. So yeah, if you are looking for a subscription on something, IT Pro TV I think is really good for finding that sort of content. Or as you said, LinkedIn Learning. When you get the LinkedIn Pro, Premium, LinkedIn Premium, it's a part of that. So it's one of those features that you get other features from LinkedIn Premium that you wouldn't otherwise have, but you then get that learning on top of that as well. So definitely have a look at that, because when Microsoft bought LinkedIn, they also bought lynda.com. So they had all that back catalog of all of that training material that's in there. So yeah, and great course leaders in there as well, and content creators. Yeah,
that's right. Send us your affiliate link, Brett.
Yeah. Plug in there, no problem. But also, and I think it's just to wind up as well. If there is a particular topic that you would like to see a deep dive on, or have an expert come in and talk to us about a particular topic around Microsoft, please let us know. We'll do our best to be able to dig up an expert, or become experts in it ourselves, and then give that sort of a chat. And whether it's a sort of a round table like this, or whether it's more of a deep dive technical thing as well, please reach out. This is a community. It's not just us coming up with stuff and hoping you'll turn up. We do want to hear what you've got to say and what you want to hear about, so we can put together content for you.
Yep, well said.
All right.
Cool. Well, we've gone a few minutes over, so we might as well wrap it up there.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Tiff, for staying up till after 1 a.m. now. Just to remind you, so you can feel tired and
sleep.
I'll just tell my boss tomorrow. I'll find Adam on Twitter.
Well, yeah, I'll post the YouTube video up so you've got evidence of you
right.
working. Cool. And yes, and thank you, Andrew and Brett, for helping set this all up and being a part of it. It's always good to have a nice chat about all this stuff.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you all for attending.
Yes, thank you very much for everyone. And hopefully we're not going to do anything in the start of January. Everyone will be recovering from Christmas. So we're probably looking at late January or early February for whatever interesting thing we come up with next.
Yes.
In the interim, I may look into doing something during the holiday period. So I may just post it in the Meetup comments somewhere, just when we pick a time, pick a place.
Yeah, sounds good. And hopefully we'll get you back in at some stage if we can convince you to again give up the sleep. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Well, safe Christmas, everybody.
Yes,
Enjoy
have
the
a good
festive
Christmas.
season.